Beloved chosen ones, let me ask you a question. Have you ever felt like the entire world is against you, mocking your faith, questioning your calling, and doubting your purpose? If you've ever felt the weight of carrying God's favor while being surrounded by disbelief and opposition, this message is for you. Today, the heavens speak directly to you. There comes a moment when the divine declares, "Enough." And when that moment arrives, the shift is undeniable. Can you feel it? Can you sense that what is unfolding isn't just coincidence but the meticulous hand of God moving in ways that no one can deny? The laughter of your enemies has turned to silence. The arrogance of those who defied you has been replaced with fear. God's patience, though vast, has run out, and now, divine justice is here. Pause for a moment and reflect. What does it mean to be chosen by God? To be handpicked to carry out a purpose greater than yourself? Have you ever thought about the trials you've endured, the tears you've cried, the battles you've fought, and wondered if they were worth it? Let me tell you, none of it was in vain. Every challenge was preparation, every struggle was sharpening you for this very season. This is your moment of elevation. But what about those who stood against you? The ones who mocked your faith, laughed at your struggles, and thought they could rise above God's will. Do you see how the tables are turning? Their pride has become their downfall, and the consequences they thought they could escape are now crashing down upon them. Imagine standing before the throne of God, knowing that every injustice you suffered, every betrayal, every cruel word spoken against you is being accounted for. How does that make you feel? Can you see how the trials of your past are now turning into testimonies? This is the moment you've been waiting for, the moment when God's promises to you are fulfilled and His justice is displayed for all to see. Now, take a moment to comment below. What have you endured that has prepared you for this season of victory? Type, "I am chosen," if you believe this is your time to rise. Let the world see your declaration of faith, because this isn't just about listening, it's about participating in the movement of God's justice. Stay with me. Don't miss what's about to unfold, because today, we'll uncover the depth of God's plan for your life and how His justice is precise, unyielding, and perfect in its timing. You'll see how every tear you've cried has been counted, how every moment of doubt has been met with divine purpose, and how the enemies of the chosen ones are being brought to account in ways they cannot deny. Think about this. What does it mean to carry the favor of God in a world that often mocks it? To stand as a beacon of light in a world that thrives on darkness? You are not here by accident. You were chosen, set apart, and prepared for this moment. The trials you faced weren't designed to break you, they were designed to elevate you. Do you believe that? If so, type 999 to affirm your readiness, because this isn't just a message, it's a movement. Together, we'll explore how God's justice is unfolding right now, not tomorrow, not someday, but in this very season. We'll uncover how the sickness that has overtaken your enemies is more than just physical, it's a spiritual reckoning that reveals the depths of their rebellion. And most importantly, we'll see how this moment is not just about judgment but about your elevation, your purpose, and your undeniable role in God's divine plan. Beloved chosen ones, are you ready to embrace this season of victory? Are you ready to rise into the role God has prepared for you? Then stay with me, because this journey is far from over. The truth you've been holding on to in faith is about to be revealed for the world to see. Let's begin. Beloved chosen ones, there is a moment when even God's infinite patience reaches its limit. That moment is now. The heavens have declared, "Enough," and justice is unfolding with a power and precision that cannot be denied. Do you feel the weight of this moment? What we are witnessing is not random or coincidental, it is the deliberate hand of God moving against those who dared to defy Him and harm His chosen ones. Think about this. How many chances has God given your enemies to turn back, to repent, and to choose the path of righteousness? Time and time again, they scoffed, mocked, and dismissed His warnings, mistaking His patience for indifference and His mercy for weakness. But no one can outwit or escape the justice of the Almighty. Let us remember Pharaoh in the book of Exodus. God sent Moses to warn him repeatedly, with each plague serving not only as punishment but also as an opportunity for Pharaoh to humble himself and submit to God's authority. But what did Pharaoh do? He hardened his heart with arrogance, choosing defiance over obedience until it was too late. The result? Egypt crumbled under the weight of its own rebellion. Now, let me ask you this: how many pharaohs have you faced in your life? How many people have mocked your faith, dismissed your struggles, and thought they could trample on your calling without consequence? Do you see how their arrogance mirrors Pharaoh's defiance? If this resonates with you, comment, "God's justice is perfect," because this is their moment of reckoning. This is not the first time history has witnessed the unfolding of God's justice. Entire civilizations have risen and fallen, not because God was unjust, but because they refused to heed his voice. Do you see the pattern here? Divine patience is not weakness, it is a gift, a space for repentance and transformation. But when that patience is abused, it transforms into divine justice, precise, unyielding, and unstoppable. Take a moment to reflect on your own journey. Have you ever questioned why justice seemed delayed? Have you wondered why God allowed your enemies to mock you, hurt you, and rise while you suffered in silence? Let me tell you this: his delay was never a denial. It was strategy. While your enemies mocked and plotted, God observed, waited, and prepared. He extended grace to them, not because they deserved it, but because he is merciful. And now, as their mocking turns into trembling, you stand as a witness to his perfect timing. Pause and think about this truth: God's justice isn't random, it's intentional. Every action, every decision, every word spoken in defiance has been accounted for. Those who mocked you, who underestimated your resilience, are now facing consequences so precise and undeniable that even they cannot ignore the hand of God at work. Do you see how God's justice is always on time? If you do, type "Justice is here" in the comments. Let the world see your affirmation. Now, beloved, let's look at how God's justice is manifesting in this season. For those who defied the will of God, the consequences are not vague or arbitrary, they are targeted. The sickness that has overtaken your enemies is not just a random occurrence, it is a divine message. How else can you explain the precision of their downfall? The book of Job reminds us, "As I have observed, those who plow evil and those who sow trouble reap it." Job 4 verse 8. Your enemies are now reaping the bitter fruits of their rebellion. The sickness that grips them is not just physical, it reaches into their spirit, their mind, and their soul. It isolates them, confuses them, and forces them to confront the chaos they once inflicted on you. Do you see how their own actions have become the very instruments of their downfall? Imagine this: someone who spent years sowing seeds of deceit, malice, and harm thought they could bury the truth, hide their actions, and escape accountability. But now, those very seeds have taken root, and the harvest is bitter, inescapable, and devastating. Doesn't this reaffirm your faith in God's justice? If it does, take a moment to declare, "God cannot be mocked," in the comments. Let this be your declaration of faith. Beloved chosen ones, this moment is monumental. What you are witnessing is not just punishment, it is the fulfillment of a divine promise. Galatians 6 verse 7 reminds us, "Do not be deceived, God cannot be mocked. A man reaps what he sows." Every mocking word, every deceitful act, every harm inflicted upon you is now returning to them in full measure. Their downfall isn't just justice, it's a testimony to the power of the Almighty. How does it feel to see God fighting on your behalf? To witness the fulfillment of promises made long before you were born? Reflect on this truth: God's justice is always perfect, even when it feels delayed. Every tear you've cried, every moment you've questioned, "Why, God?" it has all led to this season of triumph. Now, I want you to take a moment to reflect. What has God brought you through to prepare you for this moment? Comment below with a declaration of faith: "I am chosen for this time." Let this be your testimony, a reminder to the world that God's justice never fails. As we move forward, we will dive deeper into how this justice unfolds, how the sickness mirrors their deeds, and how every act of defiance has led to this divine reckoning. Stay with me, because the story is far from over. This is your moment to witness the unstoppable power of God's hand at work. Let us continue. Beloved chosen ones, as we delve deeper into the unfolding of God's justice, we must recognize this profound truth: the sickness that has overtaken your enemies is no accident. It is not a random affliction nor an arbitrary trial. It is a deliberate and divine reflection of their deeds, a mirror held up to their actions, exposing the harm they have sown. Have you ever witnessed how the choices people make often come back to confront them? This is what is happening now. Those who plotted against you, mocked your faith, and sought to destroy your purpose are now caught in the harvest of their own rebellion. The Bible declares in Job 4 verse 8, "As I have observed, those who plow evil and those who sow trouble reap it." Your enemies have spent years sowing seeds of deceit, malice, and harm, believing they could bury the truth and escape accountability. But now, those very seeds have taken root, and the harvest is bitter, unavoidable, and precise. The sickness that grips them is not merely physical, it operates on multiple levels. It confuses their minds, isolates their spirits, and leaves them searching for answers that will not come. Do you see how their actions have become the very instruments of their downfall? If this resonates with you, declare your faith in God's justice by commenting, "Justice is perfect." Let your voice echo the truth of divine reckoning. This sickness isn't just a physical manifestation, it's deeply spiritual. It operates like a mirror, reflecting the chaos they created and forcing them to confront the darkness within their own hearts. Have you noticed how their confusion mirrors the harm they inflicted on others? The Bible gives us a powerful example in 1 Samuel 16 verse 14, where King Saul, consumed by jealousy and rebellion, was tormented by an evil spirit. Like Saul, your enemies are now trapped in the torment of their own making. Their once proud minds have become battlegrounds of fear, regret, and despair. Can you imagine the weight of living in a mind that refuses to offer relief, where every thought amplifies the pain of past actions? This is the justice of God, precise, unyielding, and undeniable. Proverbs 26 verse 27 reminds us, "Whoever digs a pit will fall into it, if someone rolls a stone, it will roll back on them." Those who thought they could harm you without consequence are now falling into the traps they set. The alliances they once relied upon are crumbling, their influence is fading, and the connections they built through deceit are unraveling before their eyes. This sickness acts as both a reckoning and a revelation, exposing their deeds and dismantling their power. Do you feel the weight of this truth, knowing that God's justice spares no wrong? If so, take a moment to declare, "God cannot be mocked," and let the world see your faith in His perfect plan. But beloved, this moment isn't just about their downfall, it is about your elevation. While their power diminishes, yours rises. The very light of God's justice, which exposes their darkness, is also illuminating your path. Have you noticed how your steps feel more certain, your presence more purposeful? This is because God's justice isn't just about retribution, it's about restoration. Every tear you've cried, every moment you've endured, has prepared you for this season of triumph. Do you feel the shift? If you believe this is your moment to rise, type, "I am chosen," in the comments. Let this be your declaration of faith and your testimony to God's unshakable promises. Beloved chosen ones, what we are witnessing is not just a punishment, it is a divine unveiling. This sickness doesn't only reflect their deeds, it reveals the alliances and actions that were hidden in darkness. It exposes the silent partners, the enablers, and the collaborators who thought they could operate in secrecy. Stay with me as we explore how this unveiling is part of God's justice, ensuring that no wrong goes unnoticed and no harm goes unanswered. The story is far from over, and your role in it is just beginning. Let us continue. Beloved chosen ones, as the weight of divine justice continues to fall upon those who mocked and defied you, something extraordinary is unfolding. You are being elevated. In this season, while the proud are humbled and their power crumbles, you are stepping into the destiny that God has prepared for you. Have you felt the shift? The trials that once seemed overwhelming are now revealed as stepping stones, each one sharpening your resilience and strengthening your faith. The pain, the tears, the moments of despair, they were never wasted. They were the tools God used to prepare you for this moment of triumph. Just as Joseph in Genesis 41 rose from betrayal and imprisonment to a position of authority that saved nations, so too are you being elevated. Every tear you cried, every trial you endured, has led to this season of fulfillment. Can you see it now? This season of elevation is not just about vindication, it is about visibility. Isaiah 60 verse 1 declares, "Arise, shine, for your light has come, and the glory of the Lord rises upon you." God's light, which once seemed distant during your darkest nights, now shines brightly upon you, drawing attention from those who doubted your purpose. The very ones who mocked you and questioned your faith are now witnesses to your rise, just as Joseph's brothers were forced to bow before him. Their silence is no longer the sound of mockery but of awe. How does it feel to know that God's promises to you are now undeniable? Reflect on this and comment, "I am chosen," if you believe this is your time to shine. But beloved, this elevation is not just for your glory, it is for God's purpose. Your rise is not accidental, it is intentional. Like Esther, who was raised from obscurity to the position of queen, for such a time as this, Esther 4 verse 14, you are being elevated for a divine assignment. This is not just about standing on the mountaintop but about using your newfound position to lead, to inspire, and to reflect God's glory in a world desperate for hope. Have you noticed how every trial you endured has equipped you for this moment? Your wisdom, forged in suffering, your courage, born from perseverance, and your faith, strengthened in adversity, are the very tools you need for this season. Are you ready to step into the role God has called you to? Type, "My time is now," if you feel prepared to walk boldly in your purpose. Your elevation is not just a private victory, it is a public declaration of God's faithfulness. Psalm 23 verse 5 declares, "You prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies." Your rise is happening in full view of those who once doubted you, proving that God's justice is perfect and His promises are true. The light that now shines on you is not just for your benefit, it is a beacon for others, a testimony of what it means to walk faithfully in God's purpose. How does it feel to be a living testament to God's power? Beloved, this moment is monumental. It is the fulfillment of God's promises, but it is also the beginning of a new chapter. With this elevation comes responsibility, the responsibility to lead with grace, to inspire with courage, and to serve with humility. Are you ready to embrace this calling and step boldly into your destiny? Stay with me as we continue to explore how this rise connects to the broader narrative of divine justice and the purpose God has set before you. The best is yet to come. Let us continue. Beloved chosen ones, as the sickness overtakes your enemies, its purpose becomes undeniably clear. This affliction is not just a punishment but a divine unveiling, a floodlight piercing through the darkness to expose every hidden deed, every secret alliance, and every silent accomplice. Have you noticed how the web of deceit that once protected your enemies is unraveling? Those who thought they could operate in secrecy, profiting from the harm done to you, are now being dragged into the light. Ephesians 5 verse 13 reminds us, "But everything exposed by the light becomes visible." This sickness is not merely physical, it is a revelation that leaves no corner of corruption untouched. The silent partners, enablers, and collaborators who believed they could remain unseen are now being forced to confront the consequences of their actions. How does it feel to know that nothing escapes the gaze of the Almighty? This unveiling isn't limited to those at the forefront of wrongdoing, it reaches deep into the networks of complicity. Consider the story of Daniel in the lion's den. His enemies conspired against him, believing their plan would succeed. Yet, when their deceit was exposed, even the conspirators faced the lion's den themselves. Do you see how divine justice spares no accomplice? Your enemies, like Daniel's, are now caught in the traps they set. The alliances they once relied upon for power are crumbling before their eyes. Their strongest supporters are abandoning them, instinctively recoiling from the sickness that defines them. This is the justice of God, comprehensive, precise, and inescapable. Does this reaffirm your faith in His perfect judgment? If it does, comment, "God's justice is complete," to declare your belief in His divine plan. Beloved, this unveiling is not just a reckoning, it is also a protection. God is isolating your enemies, placing them in a divine quarantine that cuts them off from the sources of power and control they once thrived on. Have you felt the shift as their reach diminishes and their voices fade? Just as God placed a hedge of protection around Job, ensuring no harm could touch him, He has placed a barrier around you. Proverbs 26 verse 27 tells us, "Whoever digs a pit will fall into it. If someone rolls a stone, it will roll back on them." The sickness is not only their undoing, it is a shield for you, a declaration that no weapon formed against you will prosper. How does it feel to know that God's justice is actively protecting you? But this moment is not only about judgment, it is about restoring truth. For so long, your enemies operated behind lies and manipulation, constructing facades that hid their true intentions. Now, those facades are collapsing. Like Haman in the book of Esther, who was hanged on the gallows he built for Mordecai, your enemies are ensnared by their own arrogance and deceit. Their downfall is not just a punishment, it is a testimony to God's unwavering justice. Do you see how the truth always prevails? This unveiling is also a call for reflection. What does it mean to stand in the light of God's justice while others face its weight? You are not just a witness to this moment, you are a living testament to God's faithfulness. The exposure of your enemies' deeds is also an elevation of your position. As they are brought low, you are being raised to fulfill your divine purpose. Comment, "I stand in His truth," if you are ready to embrace your role in God's greater plan. Beloved, the story does not end here. While your enemies face exposure and isolation, you are being positioned to rise, to lead, and to shine as a beacon of hope and truth. Stay with me as we uncover how this season of revelation connects to the restoration and triumph that lies ahead. Let us continue. Part 5, Restoration and Triumph. Beloved chosen ones, as the veil of deceit is torn away and your enemies' alliances crumble, a new season begins, a season of restoration and triumph. This is not merely a time to survive but a time to thrive, to witness the transformative power of God's justice in your life. Have you felt the shift deep within your spirit? The trials that once seemed endless and the burdens that felt unbearable are now being redeemed, transformed into stepping stones toward your victory. Every tear you cried, every moment of despair, was not wasted, it was preparation for this moment. Joel 2 verse 25 declares, "I will restore to you the years that the locust hath eaten." This restoration is not partial, it is complete. Everything stolen from you, your peace, your joy, your opportunities, is being returned to you, multiplied by God's abundant grace. Can you feel the weight of this promise? If you believe this is your season of renewal, type, "My time is now," as a declaration of faith. This restoration is not only material but also deeply spiritual and emotional. The wounds inflicted by your enemies are being healed, replaced with strength, wisdom, and peace. Have you noticed how the pain you once carried no longer feels heavy? That is the power of God's restoration, turning scars into testimonies of His faithfulness. Like Job, who lost everything yet saw it restored twofold because of his faith, your season of restoration will exceed your expectations. God's restoration is always greater than what was lost. How does it feel to know that the God who allowed your trials is now leading you into abundance? Yet, beloved, restoration is just the beginning. This is also a season of triumph. Psalm 23 verse 5 proclaims, "You prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies." Imagine the very people who doubted you, mocked you, and sought to break you now watching as God elevates you. Your triumph is not just personal, it is a public declaration of God's faithfulness and justice. How does it feel to know that your victory is unfolding in full view of those who sought to harm you? This triumph is your vindication, proof that no weapon formed against you could prosper. Comment, "Victory is mine," if you are ready to claim the triumph that God has already secured for you. But this triumph is not about vengeance, it is about purpose. Like Esther, who was elevated to save her people, your rise is part of a divine assignment. Esther 4 verse 14 reminds us, "And who knows but that you have come to your royal position for such a time as this?" Every trial you endured has equipped you for this moment. Your wisdom, courage, and resilience are not just for your benefit, they are tools for the mission God has placed before you. Have you felt the stirring in your heart, the sense that something greater is coming? If so, type, "I am chosen," as a testament to your readiness to fulfill your divine purpose. Beloved, this is not just a moment of celebration, it is a commissioning. Your restoration and triumph are not the end but the beginning of a new chapter. God has positioned you not just to receive His blessings but to reflect His glory. How does it feel to know that your life is now a message of hope and faith to others? Like David standing before Goliath, you are stepping into victory with the authority of the Almighty. Let this truth strengthen your spirit. You are not just a survivor, you are a conqueror. As we close this chapter, reflect on what it means to step into restoration and triumph. What will you do with this new beginning? Will you rise boldly, lead with humility, and fulfill the purpose God has placed on your life? Comment below with your declaration of faith, whether it is, "I will rise," "I will lead," or "I am ready." Let your voice inspire others who are still waiting for their season of victory. Beloved, the story is not over. There is still more to unfold, more promises to be fulfilled, and more glory to be revealed. Stay with me as we explore the next chapter of God's justice and purpose for His chosen ones. The best is yet to come. Let us continue. Beloved chosen ones, as we bring this message to a close, let us reflect on the journey we have traveled together. We have witnessed the unveiling of divine justice, the exposure of hidden deeds, and the triumphant rise of those chosen by God. This is not the end, it is the beginning of a powerful new chapter filled with restoration, purpose, and victory. Have you felt the undeniable hand of God guiding you? Every trial you endured and every moment of doubt you overcame has prepared you for this season of fulfillment. Your story is a testament to the unshakable truth that God's promises are always faithful and His justice never fails. Remember, you were chosen for a reason. Your life, with all its challenges and triumphs, is part of a divine plan that is still unfolding. Like Esther, who was elevated for such a time as this, and Joseph, whose trials prepared him to save nations, you too are being positioned to fulfill a purpose far greater than yourself. Are you ready to step into your calling? Declare your readiness by typing, "I am chosen," as a public affirmation of your faith and your willingness to walk boldly in God's purpose for your life. But this truth is not just for you, it is for the world. There are countless others searching for hope, clarity, and purpose, waiting for someone to share the light of God's promises with them. Will you be that light? Share this message, spread the truth, and let your story inspire those who need to hear it. Let this moment be a ripple of transformation that reaches far beyond what you can imagine. To stay connected to messages of faith, hope, and divine purpose, I invite you to subscribe to our YouTube channel, Word of God. By subscribing, you join a community committed to growing in faith, embracing God's love, and living out His divine plan. Hit the subscribe button today and become part of a movement that is transforming lives and spreading God's truth. Together, we rise stronger in faith, united as God's chosen ones. As we close, I pray that God's blessings overflow in your life. May He strengthen you for the journey ahead, grant you clarity in your decisions, and fill your spirit with peace. May His justice continue to protect and elevate you, and His mercy guide your steps as you walk boldly in His purpose. Beloved, never doubt your calling. You are chosen, loved, and guided by a power far greater than anything this world can offer. Subscribe to Word of God today, and let's walk this journey of faith together. God bless you abundantly, chosen ones. Let us rise.